Police arrested a teacher for posting confidential marking scheme for exam on social media. Another typhoon could affect Hong Kong next week. And members of UN criticized Russian attacks on Ukrainian port. Hello and welcome to TVB News. A local secondary school teacher has been arrested on suspicion of posting an online confidential marking scheme from this year's Diploma of Secondary Education examinations. The teacher was not the marker at the public exam. Investigations are underway as to how he obtained the confidential document. Earlier this month, Hong Kong's exam authorities reported a post on social media platform Xiaohongshu to the police. The post in question features the cover of a marking scheme for the Chinese language writing paper in this year's Diploma of Secondary Education examinations, which is supposed to be confidential. Police said a 38-year-old local secondary school teacher surnamed Wang was taken away on Friday from his Sham Shui Po flat. The man allegedly posted the marking scheme online twice in May and July. The force said the teacher has claimed to be a DSE exam marker online, but he has never been one nor served as a staff member of the Examinations and Assessment Authority. Senior Inspector Chan King-lok said it's likely the teacher hopes to use the confidential document to get business for his private tutorial classes. Under the Examinations and Assessment Authority Ordinance, the work of the examination personnel is confidential in nature. Anyone who pretends to be an employee or member of the exam authorities or aids, abets, or counsels anyone to pretend to be so is liable on conviction to a fine of $25,000 and 6-month imprisonment. The police are not ruling out more arrests being made and are looking into how the suspect got a hold of the confidential marking scheme. The exam authority said it has always attached great importance to the confidentiality and fairness of public exams. It added anyone hired or appointed by the HKEAA should also keep their identity as an exam personnel confidential, and such restriction has no time limit. Hong Kong is experiencing yet another heat wave as the observatory predicts that tropical storm Doksuri will gradually edge closer to Taiwan from the Philippines rather than Hong Kong for the time being. But the weather authorities said it could not rule out the tropical storm swerving towards Guangdong province. Timothy Lee tells us more.
Sweltering heat continues to plague the city as several regions across Hong Kong reported temperatures as high as 34 degrees Celsius this afternoon. The hot weather could continue until next Tuesday, before the SAR may experience more influence of Tropical Storm Doksuri. The observatory forecasts the tropical storm will gradually intensify and reach severe typhoon status as it edges closer to the northwest of the East China Sea from the northern Philippines. Weather authorities predict that Doksuri will draw closer to areas around Taiwan next week, but emphasize that they could not rule out the possibility of the storm reaching the Guangdong coastline. They added that the downdraft of the tropical storm will lead to consecutive days of extreme heat and thunderstorms across southern China throughout the middle of next week. This as Hong Kong was hit with its first typhoon signal number 8 this Monday after being struck by Typhoon Talim. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
A 12-year-old youth was found left behind at Kwong Wah Hospital by his family. Authorities are currently tracking down his parents. Sources say that the boy's parents are not Hong Kong permanent residents and are from the mainland. The incident occurred at around noon yesterday when hospital personnel reported to the police of a boy wandering around the emergency ward. The 12-year-old surnamed Chen is 1.45 meters tall and is of a skinny build. He was found uninjured. The boy was born to mainland parents in the city in 2011 before he was brought back up north. Sources say Chen's mother brought him to the hospital at 5 a.m. Friday to seek treatment for her son's diarrhea and coughing before abandoning him after completing the registration work. The boy is currently under childcare services in Tuen Mun. Chief Executive John Lee is leading a delegation on Sunday to visit 3 ASEAN countries for 7 days. The first stop will be Singapore. Dennis Chiu, chairman of the Hong Kong-Singapore Business Association, said Singaporean businesses will be eager to take in views from the SAR's chief executive.
Hong Kong is now going through some structural changes after the COVID. I think it's good for CE to explain what is going to be the new Hong Kong. And definitely that a lot of Singapore businessmen are very interested to look at Hong Kong again, because after the last 2 years, that we need to reconnect with each other.
Moscow was under pressure from the United Nations Security Council members for attacking Ukrainian ports after pulling out of the year-old grain deal on Monday. The deal had allowed passage of Ukraine's grain through the Black Sea. If Ukrainian grain cannot leave through its Black Sea ports, it could cause a global food crisis. Tracy Furness reports.
A spike in grain prices since Russia quit a deal Monday that allowed safe Black Sea export of Ukraine grain to the world.
Global grain prices, as I think we all know, have spiked this week, threatening to undo the hard-won progress achieved over the past year. And this potentially threatens hunger and worse for millions of people. Wheat and corn futures, and I'm quoting from the World Food Programme, have risen by almost 9% and 8% respectively on Wednesday. Wednesday saw the largest single-day increase in wheat prices since the full-scale invasion commenced.
The new wave of attacks on Ukrainian ports risks having far-reaching impacts on global food security, in particular in developing countries. Furthermore, as we have repeatedly stated, attacks against civilian infrastructure may constitute a violation of international humanitarian law.
Meanwhile, Russia's Ministry of Defense announced Friday that its forces had carried out a strike with long-range seaborne precision weapons against Ukrainian sites, while Ukrainian forces claimed to continue its offensive in Bakhmut. At Russia's Security Council meeting, President Vladimir Putin said the Ukrainian offensives have not yielded significant results, despite the high costs in terms of lives. And at the Aspen Security Forum, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said his army had been waiting for long-range armaments for some time.
I would really draw attention to the long-range armaments. Again, we have been waiting for it for quite some time, and let us still have hopes and wait for it. We do hope that the United States will resolve the matter.
Tracy Furness, TVB News.
Speaking at a security conference in the state of Colorado, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said Washington and Beijing have to steady their relations to make sure the competition does not veer into conflict.
It was important to us to put some stability back into this relationship, to put a floor under it, to make sure that the competition that we're clearly in doesn't veer into conflict, which would not be in our interest, not be in anyone's interest. And that starts with engagement. It starts with talking.
Blinken's remarks came after Henry Kissinger, a former U.S. Secretary of State, was able to meet with high-ranking Chinese officials this week in Beijing, despite visiting the Chinese capital as a private citizen. Kissinger held talks with President Xi Jinping, senior diplomat Wang Yi, and Defense Minister Li Shangfu. In May, China declined a request from the U.S. for a meeting between their defense chiefs at a forum in Singapore, amid heightened bilateral tensions. Blinken said he will meet Kissinger next week to learn about the latter's trip to Beijing. Welcome back. With the economy picking up after the pandemic, a large shopping mall held its soft opening in Taiwan today. MTR, which operates the mall, hopes it can act as a community facility, providing individuals with leisure and daily needs. Mimosa and I went on a tour of the facility.
On this Saturday afternoon, Taiwan Station was packed. Fences had to put up to manage the flow of people. Many targeted the same destination, the newly opened shopping mall. Malls are everywhere in Hong Kong. So, what makes this one in Taiwan different?
I would not strictly call this a mall because we like to think what we build is part of the community. The word go from design all the way through to implementation. We are thinking about what we can provide for the community. Every shop, every person, every facility we put in here, we are thinking about the people of the region. So therefore, I would like to call this a community facility.
One of the special features is the bicycle park, offering over 300 parking lots for individuals. Tan says he hopes the facility can help residents take on a healthier lifestyle. However, cyclists are not supposed to park their bicycles for more than a day. Odd, meanwhile, is another feature that MTR hopes to incorporate in the mall, presenting themes such as railways in the Taiwan community. The mall received a notable amount of visitors and shoppers on the first day. Tan will ask the public for their thoughts on improvements, and he hopes it will make the complex a local attraction for years to come. Mimosa 9, TVB News.
The Hong Kong government has enhanced inspections of radioactive elements in imported seafood from Japan since last month. This has increased the customs clearance time by more than 3 hours. After the Japanese government had announced its plan to release diluted nuclear wastewater into the sea, many international communities expressed their opposition, including Hong Kong. The local government also said it will impose a ban on aquatic products from 10 Japanese prefectures once the country starts releasing the wastewater. Extreme weather continues to batter many parts of the world, including Europe. Temperatures in Greece are likely to top 45 degrees Celsius today and tomorrow. David Garrett reports.
Firefighters in Greece have been tackling 80 forest wildfires across the country. People had to be evacuated from this village 40 miles drive west of Athens. Most of the blazes are under some control, but emergency services are warning of more flare-ups to come. Helicopters are being used to douse the fires. The aircraft collect seawater and then dump it over areas of the forest that are on fire. On the ground, firemen work in a frenzy to try to put out fires before they get too large. But help came too late for some. Crisalua Ranieri inspects the damage to her home after a wildfire took hold. She had to flee. Her home may need to be completely rebuilt. Her son tried to stay behind to save items, but he simply could not find enough water to put out the flames. She says everything was destroyed. My husband has suffered a lot. I fear for him. In Athens, families swim in fountains to cool off from scorching heat. Tourists queued at the ancient Acropolis with the mercury at 41 degrees. Once inside, there was little respite from the sun.
It's true that it's pretty warm, especially in the Acropolis with so many people and so tight space without shadow is a little bit tough. But well, it's a one-time life experience, so it's worth it, I guess.
Some famous sightseeing spots, including the Acropolis, will be closed during the hottest hours of the coming days. Workers there say it's too hot to do their job. Athens is likely to see its hottest weekend for half a century. Tourists are now looking for sun, sea and shade.
I actually live in Denmark, and we were looking for a place with some heat, some beaches, a nice city to visit. The heat is a little bit too much. The heat wave has been terrible.
The weather is so volatile, Greece is even advising people not to go to the beach or swim in the sea.
Going to the beach, especially for the people who have health problems, is not a good idea. That's why we have so many drownings in the waters, because people with health problems expose themselves in extreme heat condition, and then they enter water.
People are being advised to stay indoors and enjoy restaurants and bars, drink plenty of water and eat salty foods. This girl is seen frolicking in the fountain, but Greece needs a rain dance. The country's Prime Minister has warned the worst is not over. David Garrett, TVB News.
Torrential rains continue to lash China, with massive rainfalls expected in its northern and eastern regions. In the Shanghai Animation Expo, cosplayers were trapped after torrential rain flooded roads on Friday. Water gushed out of drains and staff scooped water out of exhibition halls. The deluge came unexpectedly, and precipitation downtown was over 125 millimeters within an hour. In the capital, Beijing, authorities deployed more than 2,600 people to drain dozens of pumping stations in advance and clear thousands of water drainage outlets along roads. In the U.S., Vice President Kamala Harris made a last-minute trip to Florida Friday to tackle changes to the state's education standards that critics say play down the horror of slavery. Florida's Board of Education voted Wednesday to approve a revised Black history curriculum that focuses on achievements of African Americans rather than injustices they faced during the time of slavery and segregation.
They want to replace history with lies. middle school students in Florida to be told that enslaved people benefited from slavery. High schoolers may be taught that victims of violence, of massacres, were also perpetrators.
Florida's Republican Governor Ron DeSantis, who's running for the presidency, said the new curriculum was needed to prevent liberal indoctrination and accused Harris of attempting to politicize history. He accused the Biden administration of being obsessed with his state and ignoring other problems like border security and crime. British actors in London, including famous faces from TV and film, held a rally in Leicester Square in support of U.S. artists who are striking. Actors want higher pay and regulation over the use of AI. Most English performers are still working, but their union Equity wanted to show cross-Atlantic support. In attendance were British stars who have made their name in American movies, with some analyzing the implications.
Mission Impossible 8 has to stop, and as it should. It's unfortunate. There's so many productions here in the UK that are under SAG contract that have had to stop, as well as the ones in America. It's not just about the creatives, it's about everyone else's job that's created from a film set needing to work. Those people are out of a job.
Hundreds of thespians showed their support in the UK. American actors said they appreciated the show of support. American popular music icon Tony Bennett, known for his distinctive jazz vocal style, died Friday, just a few weeks short of his 97th birthday. He is best known for his 1962 hit song, I Left My Heart in San Francisco. With a career that spanned from the early 1950s to his final recordings in the early 2020s, Tony Bennett revolutionized vocal jazz, captivating audiences across generations, cultures, and genres. Frank Sinatra called him the best in the business, and today, Hollywood stars are remembering him, including Lady Gaga, who he collaborated with in 2014. Bennett received 19 Grammys and sold more than 50 million records worldwide. And that's the news. Thank you for watching.